Oh, you came back? Yes, I'm referring to you, random stranger on the internet who clearly has too much time on their hands. Well, this is a pleasantly unexpected surprise. I should say before we start, if you do go on to enjoy this video, or even a completely unrelated video for that matter, know that there are a lot more coming, and there's very little you can do about it. Because I'm driven, intelligent, and have zero desire to acquire a life outside of my studio bedroom. So consider subscribing to my channel and joining me for more content like this one. And by consider, I of course mean without you I won't be able to survive to the next day. The more subscribers and views I get, the better chance I have in supporting my day-to-day habits. What habits, you may ask? Well, you may ask, but I'm not telling you on this platform. Here's a clue: the names are Walker and Daniels and they're fun at parties. And on that note, let's begin. Serving as Prime Minister of the Caribbean nation of San Monique, Dr. Kananga presents himself to the world at large as a progressive humanitarian, championing for the rights of his people. The reality, however, is in fact very different. Unknown to the rest of his colleagues at the United Nations, and even the rest of the world, Dr. Kananga maintains another identity as Mr. Big, the underworld boss of Harlem, New York, and head of a chain of Fillet of Soul clubs, which he uses as a front for his criminal activities. Having created a pipeline for heroin into the US, Kananga plans to flood the country with the drug and monopolize the market. He supports his ambition with a surprisingly large underworld network of willing followers. He encourages a belief in voodoo among the local population of his island nation. He also maintains an interest in Obe, the Caribbean folk religion, and that includes spells, fortune-telling, and black magic. Kananga travels with a man claiming to be the human embodiment of Baron Samedi, one of the most feared figures in voodoo culture and chief of the Legion of the Dead. Over the years, Kananga employs at least 2 women whom he believed to have the power to tell the future with tarot cards, Solitaire and previously her mother. He has done everything possible to cut these women off from outsiders, declaring that the power exists only to serve him. All of this dabbling in the occult and folk religions appears to play a key role in creating a vast network of followers for Kananga, both in San Monique and the US. When the British Secret Service and CIA investigators begin to suspect that Dr. Kananga and Mr. Big may both be linked to drug smuggling, Kananga pulls off a triple killing of British agents, Dawes at the UN, Hamilton in New Orleans, and Baines in San Monique. Unfortunately, these killings naturally draw attention to Kananga's activities, most notably bringing James Bond to New York in order to investigate.
A man comes. He travels quickly. He has purpose. He comes over water. He travels with others. He will oppose. He brings violence and destruction.
Secretly located on his island of San Monique are thousands of acres of massive fields of poppies grown by Dr. Kananga, which he uses for the manufacturing of heroin. While protected by the imposing presence of Baron Samedi, who uses voodoo tactics to scare away any locals, Kananga plans to cultivate these enormous crops, manufacture them into heroin, before smuggling them back into the US through the use of his underground pipeline connecting San Monique to the States. He plans to flood the entire country with 2 tons of the drug, with a street value of well over $1 billion, by distributing free samples to millions of American citizens from his chain of Fillet of Soul clubs, under his identity as notorious crime boss Mr. Big. With this strategy, Dr. Kananga hopes that, after his clientele essentially doubles, he will have driven away any and all other rival crime families and drug cartels out of the business, allowing him to gain a monopoly on the entire market, at which point he will begin to charge anything he wants for his merchandise, making him a fortune. Throughout his endeavours, he relied heavily on Solitaire's uncanny skill with tarot cards to keep several steps ahead of the law.
Quite ingenious. A sort of junkie's welfare system.
Well, merely until the number of addicts in the country has doubled, shall we say. Then I will begin to market that acreage that you blundered into the other day. That heroin will be very expensive indeed, leaving myself and the phone company the only two going monopolies in this nation for years to come.
And here I thought it was Solitaire did the fortune telling.
Dr. Kananga is highly intelligent and immensely ambitious, reaching as far as to becoming Prime Minister of his home island and even a crime lord of a vast drug empire. Despite his public appearance, he is a natural manipulator. While on the surface he portrays himself as a humanitarian, in reality he is a despot who rules his people with an iron fist. He takes advantage of his fellow islanders' superstitions in order to protect his own operations. He even goes as far as to psychologically manipulate the young Solitaire, and most likely her mother as well, into submissive servitude in order to take advantage of her fortune-telling skills for his own benefit.
Let us hope these momentary lapses do not become a habit. Your power exists to serve me, and it is mine to control. If and when the time comes, I decide you are to lose it, I myself will take it away. Solitaire, go to sleep. You have made me angry with you, and I have no wish to be. These growing signs of impertinence begin to disturb me, Solitaire, even as they did with your mother before you. She had the power and lost it. It became useless to me. You will not make the same mistake. When the time came, I myself would have given you love. You knew that. You knew that!
He has often demonstrated to possess a cruel and sadistic nature, especially taking pleasure in the suffering of others. Like the time he instructed his henchman Tihi to mutilate Bond if Solitaire failed to demonstrate her abilities. This nature is also reflected in his assassination methods, mainly his use of deadly animals, which he views as disposable tools. From his grandiose death by snake ritual of MI6 agent Baines, and both his attempts to kill Bond via crocodiles and sharks.
D. On the first wrong answer from Miss Solitaire, you will snip the little finger of Mr. Bond's right hand. Starting with the second wrong answer, you will proceed to the more vital areas.
Oh, slowly, Whisper, slowly, slowly. Let our diners assemble.
Out of all the enemies 007 has faced over the years, Dr. Kananga is by far the most superstitious. This is clearly shown by his reliance on Solitaire's tarot cards to predict the future, and also his employment of Baron Samedi to take advantage of his knowledge of voodoo practices to protect his various assets. Dr. Kananga has all the makings of a psychopath, from his lack of empathy, utter contempt for others, manipulation, sadistic tendencies, even when carrying out a killing by himself. All of this, however, is dwarfed by his overinflated sense of self-importance, making him a very dangerous adversary to anyone who stands in the way of his ambitions.
Sure shown all that, Kananga, but I'm sure there must be a simpler way of drowning someone.
Drown, Mr. Bond? I doubt you get the chance to drown.
could try something in an even simpler vein.
On the contrary, Mr. Bond, I think you'll find those wounds quite fatal.
Under his guise as Mr. Big, he employs numerous gangsters, assassins, informants, and civilians to operate his vast criminal empire, all the way from Harlem to New Orleans. With the exception of Solitaire, every member of his organization are either African American or from San Monique. Crime boss Mr. Big has a macabre way of disposing of the bodies of those who try to spy on his New Orleans operation. The victim watches as a funeral procession passes, and an assassin stabs the distracted victim. He falls to the street, whereupon the pallbearers set the empty coffin over him. A trio of claw mechanisms inside the coffin grabs and lifts the body. Then two panels from the sides then slide over the open bottom. Inside a white pimpmobile, Dr. Kananga's henchman Whisper has a side view mirror with a camera sight and a remote control aiming and firing device, along with a metal dart that, when fired into the target temple, causes the victim's right foot to involuntarily stomp the accelerator as he dies. Dr. Kananga uses scarecrows outfitted with closed-circuit television cameras concealed in their eyes, which transmit pictures back to his base, and remote-fired guns to protect his poppy fields on San Monique. Mr. Big possesses a chair that, with the pull of a switch on the back, flips arm shackles into place, pinning the unfortunate occupant. This allows Mr. Big to perform interrogations or torture upon his victims. Kananga also has at his disposal a latex mask and wig that he has manufactured to disguise himself as his alter ego, Mr. Big. One method he uses in dispatching any troublesome individuals involves using a plunger device that sends an excruciatingly painful ultrasonic whine directly into the earpiece of his victim, killing them instantly. Dr. Kananga has a variety of creatures at his disposal, which he uses as a means of assassinating or disposing of anyone who gets in the way of his plans. These include numerous snakes, crocodiles kept on his farm in New Orleans, and sharks kept in his lair on San Monique. The lair of Dr. Kananga is located in an underground cavern on the island of San Monique. Its main entrance is a hidden elevator beneath a graveyard where voodoo priests practice their evil magic. Inside the cavern is a luxurious office from where Kananga oversees his operation. Also, there's an underground monorail for transportation, along with several drug canisters. Long, watertight steel containers used to transport Kananga's heroin to the US mainland and were dragged along behind his boat. Lastly is the cavern shark pen, containing numerous sharks that Kananga can release for his own sadistic amusement. Located in New Orleans is Dr. Kananga's heroin processing factory, but to an outside observer, it looks like a farm where crocodiles are bred for their skin. Amongst the layout of the farm is Kananga's state-of-the-art drugs lab, hidden inside a run-down farm building where all his heroin is processed and packaged for delivery. Along with a baby crocodile pool, there is a small island surrounded by croc-infested waters that is linked to the main farm by a retractable bridge. This is often used as a means of leaving unsuspecting victims stranded and left to be devoured.
There are two ways to disable a crocodile, you know.
I don't suppose you care to share that information with me?
Well, one way is to take a pencil and jam it in the depression hole behind his eye.
And the other?
Oh, the other's twice as simple. You just put your hand in his mouth and pull his teeth out.
After snaring Bond and Solitaire into his trap, Kananga has the pair tied to a winch platform so they can be lowered into a shark tank and eaten by the sharks. However, Bond manages to escape thanks to his Q arsenal and begins to fight with Kananga. He attacks Bond with a knife, and as the pair grapple, both men fall into the shark pool. As the two men struggle underwater, Bond manages to shove the compressed air shark bullet into Kananga's mouth. After Bond snaps his jaw shut to free the pin, Kananga's body fills with carbon dioxide gas, causing his body to expand like a balloon and literally explode.
Where's Kananga?
Well, he always did have an inflated opinion of himself.
As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of this character, what or who I should cover next, when it should be released, and whether or not I should attempt it half cut or not. If you're interested, come and follow me, at a reasonable distance of course, on either Facebook or Instagram, and please come and join me on my Discord server. It's getting a tad bit lonely. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next video.